Welcome to Short Movie Channel. Today, we're telling the story of a waitress who dreams of becoming a singer and struggles with the burden of diabetes. The movie starts with a beautiful girl named Cassie. She's singing on stage at a bar. Cassie works as a waitress there, and she sings along with her friends. After finishing her performance, she heads back to waiting tables. While she's working, a group of Navy soldiers walk into the bar. Cassie gets annoyed right away because she doesn't like Navy guys. They always bother her in unpleasant ways. But her attitude changes when she spots her old friend Frank among them. She runs over and hugs him. Frank and Cassie grew up together and have been close since they were kids. Frank introduces Cassie to his fellow soldiers and tells her they came to blow off some steam because they're shipping out to war in 2 weeks. Cassie warms up to them, takes their orders, and notices one of the soldiers, Luke, seems interested in her. He keeps staring at her and trying to catch her attention, but Cassie doesn't give him the time of day and just walks off to get their drinks. When she leaves, Frank advises Luke to forget about her. She doesn't like soldiers and wants nothing to do with that lifestyle. When Cassie comes back with the drinks, one of the guys harasses her, which really upsets her, so she storms off. Luke follows her and apologizes for his buddy, trying to lighten the mood and get to know her, but Cassie shuts him down and walks away. Cassie goes back to work until her phone alarm goes off. She asks for a 5-minute break and steps outside to her car. She takes an insulin shot. Cassie is diabetic, and it's her last dose. The next day, Cassie goes to refill her prescription using her health insurance, but the pharmacist tells her coverage has expired. She can either wait until the end of the month for a new dose or pay for it out of pocket. The insulin is extremely expensive, and Cassie can't afford it. So she leaves, knowing she'll have to survive a whole week without insulin. Meanwhile, Luke is out jogging when he suddenly runs into a man named John, a drug dealer Luke used to buy from before he turned his life around and joined the military. Luke still owes John a large sum of money from back when he was using. John reminds him of the debt and threatens him, saying he won't forget and that Luke better watch his back if he doesn't pay up. At the same time, Cassie heads home and finds her mom visiting. Her mom sees how rough Cassie's financial situation is. She notices an eviction notice on Cassie's door and offers to let her move in and take care of her. But Cassie refuses, not wanting to be a burden. She reassures her mom that she's working as a waitress, doing food delivery, and giving lessons, and that she'll soon pay off her debts and get back on track. That night, Cassie heads to work and sings with her friends like usual. But suddenly, she starts feeling dizzy and weak due to the lack of insulin. She can't finish her set and rushes off stage, heading to the bathroom, trying to calm herself down. While sitting there, she sees a poster for the Navy and gets an idea. If she marries a Navy guy, she'll get better health insurance and won't have to worry about her medication ever again. The next day, Cassie goes to Frank's place. Luke is crashing there for the time being. Cassie doesn't mind and asks to talk to Frank privately. Frank agrees and Cassie opens up, telling him she's diabetic and that her insurance won't cover her medication anymore. She asks Frank if he'd marry her so she can get access to military benefits. She adds that the military pays a big bonus to married soldiers and suggests they split the money 50-50. She emphasizes this would be a business deal only, nothing romantic. She says they'd both benefit. Then she gives Frank some time to think about it. Luke overhears the conversation and interrupts, warning them that military police investigate fake marriages seriously. If they find out the marriage is just for benefits, they could both be charged with fraud and face serious consequences. Cassie cuts him off, saying she wasn't asking him and that she was talking to Frank, not him. She embarrasses Luke and tells him to leave. After he walks out, Cassie asks Frank for his opinion. Frank tells her he's already in a relationship, and his girlfriend would never be okay with him marrying someone else, even if it's just for benefits. Cassie laughs it off and says her idea was kind of crazy anyway, then leaves. Later, Luke asks Frank about Cassie's situation and wonders why her family can't help her. Frank tells him her dad abandoned them a long time ago, and her mom earns barely enough to survive. There's no way she can support Cassie too. Not long after, Luke meets with John again and gives him a small payment on his debt. But John gets angry because it's nowhere near enough. He pulls a gun on Luke. Desperate, Luke tells him he'll get him the full amount soon. He's planning to marry someone just for the military benefits, and he'll use that money to pay him back. He promises to give him half the bonus as one lump sum. John agrees but tells Luke to hurry up. He's not going to wait much longer. The next day, Luke goes to meet Cassie at the restaurant. He tells her that he needs money and also needs the marriage benefits, and that he wants to marry her in a marriage of convenience. She responds by saying that he was the one who told her to stay away from that idea, and now he's coming to her saying he wants to marry her. He explains that he's going through financial problems. Cassie agrees but asks how they'll convince the military police that it's a real marriage and not just for benefits. Luke tells her they'll need to keep sending each other love messages, always go out together, and before he leaves for deployment, they should spend a few days together in a hotel so it'll look like they're truly married. They agree on everything and promise not to tell anyone at all about this being a marriage of convenience. Not long after, they actually get married, with Franco as their witness, and they celebrate the wedding with their friends. The next day, they get ready for Luke's deployment, but Cassie ends up arguing with one of Luke's friends. Luke gets angry at both of them, yells at them, and walks off. Cassie runs after him to make it seem like she really loves her husband and cares about him. But when she catches up to him, they argue again, and their friends are watching the whole thing. When Luke notices his friends watching, he immediately stops the argument, hugs Cassie, and pretends they made up. That night, Cassie goes with Luke to spend the night at a hotel. The next day, she goes with him to drop him off at the place where he'll be deployed from. She says goodbye and decides she'll stay in touch with him and send him love letters. Then Luke gets on the bus and leaves with his fellow soldiers. Days go by, and Cassie starts to genuinely miss Luke. She begins writing to him, telling him all about her life. Luke writes back and opens up about his family, his teenage years, and his past struggles with drug use. They keep writing letters and doing video calls most of the time. Through all this, they get to know each other more and become closer. One day, during a video call, Cassie sees scars on Luke's face. He tells her they're from a recent battle, and that most of his friends were seriously injured, but he only got minor wounds. Cassie wants to comfort him, so she sings a song she had written especially for him. She had planned to surprise him with it when he came back. But seeing him like that, she sings it to him during the call. Luke is deeply moved by the song, and not just him, all the guys around him are touched too and thank her because it made them feel better. While talking with Luke, Cassie tells him that a famous person heard her singing and invited her to perform at the city festival. She's super excited about it. Luke is really happy for her and wishes her the best of luck. On the day of the festival, Cassie and her band take the stage and perform an amazing show. Everyone in the audience loves it, and she starts getting more gigs. Day by day, her fame grows, and she starts singing at bigger events, gaining a larger fanbase who love her music. During that time, Cassie sees Luke as the main inspiration for her songwriting and always credits her success to him. One day, after finishing a concert, Cassie gets a phone call from Luke's unit commander. He tells her, as Luke's wife, that Luke was injured in a military mission, suffered severe damage to his legs, and is in critical condition. He'll be returning home in 2 days. Cassie is completely shocked and doesn't know what to do at first. Then she decides to go to Luke's family and let them know about what happened. She goes to see Luke's father, Jacob, but he doesn't really care much about Luke. They haven't spoken in a long time, and he didn't even know his son went to war. When Cassie tells him the news, he's shocked and asks how the commander contacted her, and not someone from Luke's family. She tells him that she's Luke's wife, and that they got married before he left for deployment. 2 days later, he returns to his hometown and finds Cassie and her family there, all checking in on him. He freezes when he sees his father, someone he doesn't have the best relationship with, showing up to make sure he's okay, looking seriously worried. Luke asks his dad why he came to check on him instead of being happy about his injury. His dad responds, "No father is ever happy to see their child in pain, no matter what. After that, his dad and siblings leave, and Cassie stays. As his family walks out, Luke tells Cassie that he forgot to mention something. His father works in military police. If he finds out their marriage is a fake, he wouldn't hesitate to report them and arrest them himself. Cassie says there's no way he'd actually arrest his own son, but Luke tells her she doesn't know his dad or how strict he really is. He insists they need to act like a real married couple, like the real deal, so his dad doesn't suspect a thing. Cassie agrees. Then she asks about Frank. Luke breaks down in tears and tells her that, unfortunately, Frank died during the same mission he was injured in. Cassie is devastated, cries, and quickly leaves the room. Later, they attend Frank's military funeral. They're both deeply saddened. Days pass. Luke's condition starts improving, and he's released from the hospital with Cassie. But as they step outside, they're surprised to see Jacob waiting for them. He tells them he'll be stopping by every day to take Luke to physical therapy to help him walk again. Even though Luke and Cassie tried to convince him not to go through the trouble, he insists. Later, Luke and Cassie head back to her apartment, and they tell Jacob that this is the place he can come visit them. Once inside, Cassie and Luke start bickering again, as usual. Cassie isn't used to having anyone live with her. She tells him they didn't agree to this from the beginning and that she can't keep pretending anymore. But Luke reminds her that they need to keep up the act, or else they'll both end up in jail. There's no other option. The next day, Jacob comes to take Luke to physical therapy, and they leave together. Time passes, and Luke's condition starts improving a bit. Cassie, meanwhile, starts writing songs again, drawing inspiration from Luke. One day, she comes home to find Luke walking for the first time since the injury. She's thrilled, and they sit down to have breakfast together. They spend the whole day playing and laughing. The fake relationship between them starts to take a real, emotional turn, something neither of them expected. The next day, they get a call from Cassie's mom, who tells them someone broke into her house. She's terrified. Luke and Cassie rush over. Luke goes in to check the place, but then he gets a call from John, who tells him he still hasn't been paid. John threatens to report their fake marriage unless Luke pays him immediately. Luke gets furious, and the next day he tracks John down and beats him up, warning him to stay away from Cassie and her mom. He gives him all the money he owed and leaves. When Luke gets back home, he finds Cassie packing her bags. He asks what's going on, and she tells him that someone called her mom and told her their marriage is fake. It turns out it was the same guy who broke into her mom's place. He could have hurt her. Luke admits he owed that guy a large sum of money but says it's all been taken care of now. Cassie, furious, tells him that because of him, her mom, her only family left, could have been harmed. She breaks down and says he's just like every other guy who's come into her life. She tells him they're getting a divorce and asks him to leave until it's finalized. Cassie goes to a concert that night, but she's completely distracted. She can't stop thinking about Luke. Meanwhile, Luke, heartbroken, goes out running. It's his way of dealing with emotions. As Cassie finishes the concert, she gets a call from Jacob. He tells her the military police found out about the fake marriage. Someone reported them. Luke has already been arrested for fraud, and his court hearing is tomorrow. After that, she'll likely be arrested too. Jacob asks if it was all just an act. Cassie, deeply upset, says, "Some of it wasn't an act. The feelings, they were real." The next day, she goes to Luke's court hearing. Luke takes full responsibility, saying he pressured Cassie into the marriage and didn't know it was illegal. The judge drops the fraud charge against Cassie and holds Luke solely accountable. Because Luke is a military soldier, the judge sentences him to 6 months in a military base instead of regular prison. The following day, before Luke heads off to serve his sentence, he says goodbye to his whole family. As he's about to enter the base, Cassie shows up and surprises him. She tells him their marriage wasn't fake to her, that it was the most real thing she's ever had. She says she wasn't pretending to love him in front of others, she actually does love him. Luke tells her he's going away for 6 months, but she says she'll wait for him just like she did when he was at war. He tells her he's loved her since the very first day he met her. They embrace. 6 months later, we see Luke and Cassie together again, deciding to stay together and build a real future. And that's where the movie ends. If you enjoyed the film, give us a like and let us know what you think in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel.